Hello, everybody, and welcome back. So now, today we are talking about the causes of wars, territorial causes. So everything that we're going to be discussing in today's video is all going to be centered around territory, the acquisition of land, whether it is by war, whether it is by politics, or the threat of land being taken with colonies and long-term, potentially unseen threats. So when we're talking about territory, we're talking about land. Who owns it and who controls it. So this means both land and sea, right? It counts as both because sure, you can have a colony anywhere you want, but if you don't have access to that colony, then do you really own it? And just as a refresher, short term is 1905 and after. Long term is any time before 1905. So please keep aware of that as we move into the examples today. Today we're talking about 4 examples. We're going to revisit the Franco-Prussian War, as I'm sure to no one's surprise on here, which is a long-term cause between France and Germany. We're going to revisit the Naval Race, which is a short-term cause between Britain and Germany, also no surprise there. We're going to talk about a new example, which is the Balkan War, which is a short-term war that's between Serbia, Russia, Germany, and Austro-Hungary. And then we're going to talk about the concept of imperialism, how imperialism is in and of itself both territorial and economic. These go hand in hand. So let's go back. Now, the territorial causes for the Franco-Prussian War. The reason why this is a mainly territorial cause is on France's side. That as a long-term cause, when France lost the region of the Alsace-Lorraine, this industrial hub, France felt that between 1870 all the way to 1919, that there was a massive scar on the face of France, that there was a missing part of France, which is this region, the Alsace-Lorraine. But not only was that land missing because Germany was in control of it, but it became a wound. It became a scar. It became a battle cry for France. Because the idea that a foreign country is controlling French land, the idea that a foreign power is controlling French territory, it severely caused France a deep hatred. That every year that Germany controls the Alsace-Lorraine is a year French people suffer under German control. And so this loss of land, yes, is economic, but more than that, deeper than that, is this land is French and it belongs to France and we want it back. So a lot of what we see here, and a lot of the reason why the Franco-Prussian War is a multiple example, a multiple concept example, is there are a lot of different factors that go into this. This loss of land is not only the loss of land, but it's also an economic pain, and it's also a political pain for Germany to show how powerful they are by taking French land. But now it's also, as we're going to see, ideological. It's a humiliation for France, and a main reason why France is going to do everything they can until they get that land back. It is the very definition of both petty, but also restoring what was taken from you. So when we think of the Franco-Prussian War and the loss of the Alsace-Lorraine, it's not only economic and it's not only political, but it's also territorial. It is the loss of lands and important markets for France. Now, the naval race. We talked a little bit about this in the economic video, but I do want to revisit why this is territorial. Because it is a short-term cause for the war, because Germany wants to directly race and directly threaten Britain's naval supremacy, Britain's naval control. They want to threaten and build so that Britain is not the only major navy in the world, that there is a competitor. And so for Germany, this is territorial because if they have a large enough navy, then they can get territory. And as I alluded to at the beginning of this video, sure, you can have colonies, but if you don't control the access to them, if you don't control the sea to those colonies, then you kind of don't control those colonies anymore, especially during this time period where air travel and train travel wasn't as extensive as it is today, right? Today, it's a different story. You can send over battle cruisers. You can send over transport planes to get to access to area. You don't need to depend on the sea. At this point in history, planes were not used in that manner. Planes were just kind of coming around. So this was a direct assault saying, I'm going to build a fence between you and your colonies, Britain. Which, for Britain, means, hey, are you really going to try to threaten us? Are you really going to try to take our colonies away? This is how we built our power. This is why we are the strongest nation in the world at this time. You, even remotely trying to come to us, to step on our toes this way, is a direct threat. And sure, Germany can try to control the sea by blocking Britain from colonies, but Britain can take their navy and control the sea to prevent Germans from ever leaving their country. So if you remember in the map, Germany is essentially locked between the North Sea and the English Channel of moving ships. So just as Germany is threatening to cut off Britain from its colonies, Britain is threatening to cut off Germany from the rest of the world that isn't Europe. So this is a major territorial cause because it is directly assaulting each other's wallets. It is directly assaulting each other's political control globally. Now, this is where we get to a new example here. And this next example takes place over the course of 2 years. It is known as the Balkan War. Now, the Balkan War is a war between Serbia, Romania, Bulgaria, and the Ottoman Empire. Now, essentially, Serbia, Bulgaria, and Romania all decide, you know what? We need to expand. We need to kick the Ottomans, the Turkish, out of the Balkans. They're weak right now because of a war that they just fought with Italy. Let's attack them full force and beat them out. So they do this successfully by targeting Turkey. In 1912, the first year, they successfully pushed the Turkish forces out of the Balkan, out of this region, right? Turkey and the Ottomans get pushed to the south. When they do that, Serbia and Bulgaria start to say, well, we're going to go ahead and expand into this area because this is ours. So they start growing and growing and growing. And as they are growing, Austria-Hungary, which is right here, pleads to the rest of the world by saying, whoa, hold on. If Serbia continues to grow, they hate us. They don't like us. So the stronger they get, the more war is going to happen. So I'm not going to let this happen. No, sir. So Austria essentially threatens Serbia and says, if you expand any further, we are going to directly attack you. To which Serbia then turns to Romania and a country right here called Montenegro and Bulgaria and says, hey, Austria is threatening me. If they attack me, what's to stop them from attacking the rest of us? So these countries get together, and Russia slowly starts talking to these four countries, Romania, Serbia, Montenegro, and Bulgaria, and says, hey, not only should you guys come together as you are, but I'm going to give you guns. I'm going to give you supplies. Because if Austria attacks, you need support. Here is that support for you. When it becomes aware that Russia is supporting these countries, Austria-Hungary in the north says, whoa, this is even more unfair. Here's Russia yet again getting involved in things they're not supposed to be getting involved in, just like the Bosnian crisis. So Austria-Hungary reaches out to their ally, Germany, and Germany says, yeah, Austria, let's do something about this. So Germany, Austria-Hungary, Russia, and Serbia all come into a political conflict, not a real one, a political conflict that essentially results in Germany, Austria drawing out, and Russia drawing out lines of who's going to control what. So Serbia is only going to get this little piece. Montenegro is going to get here. Bulgaria is going to get here. Romania is going to get nothing, which is fine. They were okay with that. So they're kind of divided in this region here, like this. Well, this did not sit well with Bulgaria. Bulgaria said, no, we should have more land. We should be even stronger. So Bulgaria, in 1913, declares war against her former allies, Serbia, Romania, Montenegro. And when they do that, this time Russia starts sending guns to Serbia, strengthening their bond and supporting each other, while leaving Romania out and Montenegro out. And as they're doing this, Austria says, here it is again. Russia's getting involved one more time. So Austria reaches out to Germany one more time, her ally, and says, hey, I need your help. Things are going down here that are not good. And so when Germany gets involved, Germany tells Austria, hey, we don't want to go to a war right now, and I don't think you want to go to a war either. So let's let Russia and Serbia and Bulgaria do their thing. We'll stay out of it, and we'll use this as a point to punish Russia, punish these areas later. So despite Austria not really happy about this, Austria and Germany stay out in 1913, and Serbia, Bulgaria, and Russia end up growing. When they do this, Serbia very outwardly expresses how they did this essentially on their own. They did this without Russia's help. Yeah, they sent guns, but they really didn't do much after that. And Russia is totally fine with this, because the more Serbia says they did it on their own, the less punishment Russia's going to face later. So this whole shift of territory, despite it happening between four nations, the bigger countries still got involved and tried to interact and to manipulate the situation. So this territorial issue goes back to the wounds of the Bosnian crisis, as we heard prior. And as we're going to see in the next few videos, is why Serbia and Austria are so against each other that lead to an assassination attempt. Now, the last example we're going to talk about today is imperialism. This is pretty self-explanatory. The reason why imperialism is a territorial cause is because the Triple Alliance, as I've mentioned before, have come together to support each other to grow. And the only way you can grow is through colonies. And all of the colonies are essentially owned by the Triple Entente. So all of this is a direct threat and a direct assault to each other. They're all competitively arguing with each other, as you can see here. This picture is a propaganda photo discussing how the different countries cut up parts of China. And if you notice, France is supporting Russia, and Germany is directly, aggravatingly looking at Britain. And Japan's involved, as you will hear in our Paper 1 lectures. But this picture perfectly explains how and why these countries were fighting against each other for different territories to grow their empire. For Germany, it's to grow their empire. For France and Russia, it's to strengthen their empire. For Britain, this is an assault on their potential empire.